Alrighty, daily trading recap. Let's get into it on this Monday, the 31st of January, 2022, last trading day of the month for January here, and coming in with another small red day. Just another little day of learning, but just of letting the market do what it wants to do. And now at that point again, where I've mentioned it a few times in this month, especially, but okay, we got to do something different, or we got to take this time and opportunity of this semi-lackluster opportunities out there in the small cap sector, OTC sector, to, okay, let's expand ourselves. Let's now go back into options. Let's go into more swing style trades. Let's do other things because we have this time and opportunity to, as we're still in front of the screens, but just nothing really is going crazy in our favor. There's, of course, is always going to be opportunity, and we're capitalizing on some of it, seeing some of it there, but just not really things I want to be putting my time and energy towards in order to get that return on it. It's just becoming a dwindling amount of return on the investment of that time and screen time at this point for market time watching these small cappers versus what I could be doing of just growing myself through failing more at other avenues of trading, whether that's futures trading or options trading that way. So I think I am at that point a little bit with just these small losses and taking, again, these like $200 size position trades. It's just, I can't be doing this. And I was in such a rut like that for such a long time, thinking that, oh, okay, I'm holding myself accountable to a small position size because now then I don't have then I'm going to have a small P&L loss, and I'm still in the trades. I'm not just having to do a paper trade where it's kind of fake and there's not really any attachment to it. But these $200 trades, it's just at the point of, they certainly don't add anything to the P&L bank, and they're at that point that they don't really add anything knowledge bank wise either. It's almost like they are synonymous with paper trading in my mind of what I'm trying to do with these, and the amount of focus and just weirdness of myself that I put on these. It's the best way to put it in. So I want to get away from that as much as possible, and not just saying now that, okay, those same type of trades I'm going to be throwing bigger position size on. That's not what I'm saying. I want to be taking more trades where I do have a higher conviction that I can be taking a higher position size, and not necessarily for the sake of P&L, but because I do feel as of right now, it's kind of wasting my time trying to attack the same type of things when it's just not showing that it's there, and just convincing myself that, oh, because it's not there, I'm just going to take a smaller position size. For my size of trading account in total, I can't be doing that, and it's just not worthwhile. So we got a few tickers to go over today. Some tickers I was watching coming in. Let's do a little housekeeping first before we go in. SPY, 1.8% day in the green. Very nice to see this dip bounce continuing from last week trading day on Friday. Dollar volume around the horn, NASDAQ, $280 billion volume as of 17 minutes after the close here. Nice see, $376 billion volume. OTC's $2.47 billion volume there. Was watching a few plays for like a third day or multi-day low float squeeze. SBEV, which I'll get into it a little bit, but SRA was another one. Kind of this multi-day hold. A little bit of lower floor, but just didn't really have anything in the bag today. Could still produce something later this week or within the next few days. We'll keep watching it, but nothing today. Man, I had a buttload of tickers on my scanner in the afternoon here, like 300 plus, but just nothing. All of them within those range of like, okay, you're up 10%, but just why? And, you know, where do you go from here? And it's just nothing hard to grasp onto or take a hold of. As a just trading learning lesson, or really to go on for take a even paper trade. There's just really nothing there in my mind to watch on those. So it's just kind of frustrating trying to click through all of those freaking tickers, and they're just all the same thing over and over again. Maybe there's something to learn from that as a type of chart or pattern playbook trade, but gosh, I'm just not seeing any patterns align as of right now on those ones. Let's get into tickers. IMMX, I wanted to start off with. I mean, sure enough, I'm still getting up early, even though I had crappy sleep today and just dealing with other injuries that I had. This former mover on these past few days here had another little morning dump opportunity today. News catalyst at 8 a.m. of something with growing their manufacturing or speeding up some of their clinical trials, whatever. Only really maxes to a 12% peak off of that news catalyst. And sure enough, it peaks, and I'm just giving that 8 a.m. time frame enough time for any spikers to come out, if any news catalysts were coming out at that time. And then I'm in the bathroom, and then I come back out, and sure enough, this one just a few minutes later comes back on the scanner right at that time. And not the most like beautiful or pristine double, triple opportunity as a trade itself, but man, perfectly. If I'm quantifying an entry point around 415 for the failure to maintain VWAP off of that initial perk, it kind of dumps perfectly just post morning session here. 373-ish would have been perfect 10% from right around there. So I can't say that there was an opportunity, but yeah, tough for me. Tough for me since it is a lower floater, and tough for me for the lack of bigger percentage move off of that initial spike for me to even consider an entry. And I think it was very reasonable borrows anyway on that low floater through trade zero. So yeah, I mean, within minutes and seconds that I freaking missed this one for how much I try to stay up and focus on these types of trades as my playbook trades. But gosh, yeah, another one slipping through the fingers, and not too regretful of it. I don't really think I would have been even taking a position on it for that low floaterness and for that lack of real bigger percentage move off of that news catalyst, and for the former runnerness that it does have. I think I was wise in staying away from it for today, even if I was in front of the screen at this point. But yeah, opportunity was there on that one. INDO was the next one. Third day play for me on this bad boy. Was trying to compare other charts similar to this type of price action. I pulled up BBI from the 20th of this month. If we can pull up here, 20th of January. Another similar, not similar sector stock or ticker at all. Super high float, I believe, on BBI, or super low float that might have been on BBI, and then super high float on INDO. And very different sector stocks in themselves. But BBI kind of putting just in somewhat similar types of moves. That it was a little bit of sell-off day on that second day, but holding some key levels. And into that third day pre-market looking decently enough, but then just end up dumping and releasing the cat out of the bag on that day. So then coming into INDO today, trying to model something similar that was a little bit of sell-off day on that second day. And first day was a little bit different, seeing that there was no pre-market action on that last week Thursday. This was all just an entire market hours move on that first day, which I do feel categorizes some different types of feel for these stocks of who's being involved in these types of stocks. There's just type of personality that can be attracted to these movers. So yeah, trying to find or manage a risk level of, okay, hey, $5 level seems to be key target. It's obviously a key psychological level. It does seem to be providing some amount of support. Did break off there just a little bit, but recovered pretty nicely and then bounced off there again on the first day. Maybe it has some support. It looks like it is holding decently well-ish into pre-market today. So starting in with a position of 20 shares, it is at like 517, getting pretty top tick there. It dumps off there to 49ish, and I'm saying, okay, whatever. It's not broken yet, but it's not looking great. Sure enough, reclaims a little bit, but just lackluster volume, not anything to write home about or to really base the trade off of, unless price action was seriously telling me something different. As it was holding okay above VWAP here, I slapped in another 20 shares just again to get, I'm convicted in the trade, but it's still that $200 size I was talking about in the introduction. Like, what is really the point of me being in this trade? I should be paper at this point. If I'm really that convicted, then I should be paper a $2,000 position size for these types of movers. But gosh, yeah, this one dropped the ball again. Let up the bag, dump below VWAP, and I'm cutting myself at 486, and it goes a little further for the morning session, tries to reclaim VWAP, dumps off there again, and then just kind of randomly spikes, reclaims off of this double bottom, holds above VWAP into the afternoon session pretty nicely. New high days tapping just under $6, so I can give myself a grade for the idea on the trade as just a total third day ideal in general as a C. You know, it did have some opportunity from my entry points tapping just under $6. But it was just a different time frame and a different movement that I had to hold myself accountable to. So execution based on what I was trading, I can give myself a B grade for just cutting losses quickly, sizing in responsibly. Just nothing really exciting and nothing that I'm just so passionate and motivated about. And I think that's why I'm just trying to take hard steps to get away from this style of trading that just becomes, in a hot market, I could totally look at this one and say, okay, yeah, just chalk it up as another loser or chalk it up as that hit ratio of you're one of the losers. And it's not anything against me. I'm not like finding a wrong pattern, but it just didn't work out on this one today. I'm not taking that so emotionally hard, but when there is just so much lackluster volume and then the plays become more narrow, trying to put all the eggs in one basket of like, well, this isn't the greatest setup anyway, but it's really the only one I have, and just trying to push that win on it that you kind of have to work out in a sense. I'm not saying that literally, but that's just kind of subconsciously what it becomes, is the less and less plays that are out there. It's just like everything in life, of the more and more wins you have, like just widening your perspective of total entries not relating to trading, but just entries in life of things that you're doing. the more plates you got spinning on the little sticks, you're not going to be caring about the ones or two that fall off randomly. Because you got like 38 other ones in the air that are still spinning, and keeping your eye on those ones. But kind of relating to that weird example, but gosh, that was INDO. IINN. Another little kind of weird experimental one for me on this one, just very small size again. Initially seeing it on the morning dump scanner, I knew this was another former runner as well, recent mover. This initial move on October the 26th of last year was just similar to INDO market hours move, nothing happening in pre, but then relating it or correlating it to as I was seeing it pop up while it was still within the first 2 minutes here of that perk off of the news catalyst. News catalyst today was distribution agreement for U.S. of like $200 million, whatever it was. 3 to 4 million floater, Israeli medical device company. They got a few warrants out there, nothing really crazy. But then, going through all the dilution factors, hitting up that history, just checking out December 9th again, just to see what type of price action, what characteristics can we glean from this type of stock, and learning very precisely off of this chart that, okay, it does this one on this day. It's not going to exactly follow precisely what it did here on this day, but can we learn something about this type of stock? Of course, it is a low floater. I have to respect that. And from that, I knew, not only from that low floaterness, but from this day as well, that, okay, maybe I do not want to be getting short this one in pre-market, trying to play it as a playbook morning dump style trade for me. But it tries to have a little perk here. Looks like it's failing VWAP or just losing steam, but then sure enough, reclaims, pushes to new high of day from there, continues to just absolutely rip. Again, fakes out a failure to maintain VWAP off of that initial perk, spikes to new high of day, just continues to go rip and rip into market open. But then the whole market morning session for the market hours are just an overall death sentiment. Has these little attempts here to kind of dip and rip. You call them little double bottoms here and there that you're finding, but just rejection, fails to ever really get to a new high of day, and big volume stuffs to the downside, just getting it under VWAP again and again here. And kind of saw the same thing today. So keeping that in mind for market hours, that I should have been watching that, and that was always in the back of my mind, especially during this little dip and rip style of trade I tried to play. I should have been closer into where that bottom was, around 310-ish, 315-ish. Area, but still playing at a 3-3, trying to look for a perk to new high of day from there, but I ended up stuffing hard, rejecting, and I got a 3-2 exit on that secondary thing that I did during market hours. Was able to get the level 2 and tape recording of this one today, which I'll leave a link to in the description. Great little learning lesson off of that one. And then, pre-market today, doing a little like warrior trading, Ross style trading of, okay, hey, I told myself that I'm not really ideally going to get short this one, but let's see if it just has a continuation to go long or starts to continue to rip to new high of day. So starting in, getting a little chasey on my first entry of like 50 shares both ways each time that I did this, 2 times in and out. 50 shares, buying pretty much the top, 271, the exact top, getting sold as I thought it was going to dump hard against me, 256. Bottom tick that, just got played like a fiddle on that trade. But sure enough, continues to hold above VWAP. Volume is coming in, supporting price action. Get long again. I say screw it, let's do it. I'm taking small position size anyway. This is just learning experience either way. This thing could go awesome, insane. Let's see what it does. 267, get an entry again. Scale out a little bit at 2.8. Take off like 20 shares, and then set a limit order again at like $3 as it was continuing to just hold and hold. And then eventually, before I even see price reaching that point or even see the candle, I'm hearing the notification that I get filled, and then sure enough, it's already at like 3.2, dumps back down to below $3. Limit orders on these style plays that I learned from today, that I wrote super hard in my journal, that it is that tough battle you're having to wage with yourself of sometimes I'm going to get filled stupidly like this, of just if I'm trying to buy the bid, or in pre-market especially too, as volume isn't so incredible, or the spread isn't so incredible, I'm going to get these stupid fills, and trying to play this little quick scalpy in and out game. For how small of a size I'm trading too, it's not like anybody's so key on getting my shares filled first, but of the learning lesson that limit orders are definitely your friend, and sitting patient and comfortable, of knowing when to cut, but also knowing that, gosh, the 3.5, 3.6, not only 3.5, but 3.6 was in the bag today in pre-market, and how much more room could these things go? If as I'm sitting in this thing from 2.6 of, is it sketchy for me to hold this thing above $3? And what is telling it? You could, someone could come up to tell me, oh, you could look at the volume profile, you could look at the history of this thing. It's got a key resistance point. I've always been hitting at that 325 area market. And you could tell me so many different lines and technical levels on this thing of where it could have gone to in pre-market, but there just really is no telling. And I mean, setting a limit order randomly at 3.7, who knows if it would have gotten filled or not. Obviously, it didn't get filled today, but of just the random quick spikes that can happen, price doesn't even really have to reach there. But sure enough, sometimes you can get a nice little panic and can smack there to 3.7, they just immediately drop off. I mean, that's not a repeatable trade or something to try and push forward of like, okay, well, I got this percentage move of profit from this style of trade, so that's exactly what I'm going to set my limit order at on this style of trade and this similar mover here. It's just kind of a shot in the barrel, shooting fish in a barrel of what you can end up getting on these pre-market movers, but I can certainly see why Ross is making a buttload on this. I think I saw him make like $1,800 today on the run-up in pre-market today. I can certainly see why this entire strategy of these just parabolic movers is a very lucrative strategy for just how emotional of a trading time point that can be on the upside still. Something to learn from, and I'm glad I took it today and just starting that process again of just, hey, I've not done this style of trading before. Let's expand my horizons and open myself up to what is the perspective going on here. What does this battlefield look like at that point in time? 11-cent borrow fee that I saw on Trade Zero just for reference, and then like literally I cleared it and tried to push it again later because I forgot what it was, and then it was 6 seconds, like a few seconds later through Trade Zero of borrow fees. So very interesting for how quickly that could drop, like 50% in borrow fees that it dropped within seconds. Interesting to see that. And then I mentioned the similar downward sentiment for this market for the morning session, like it did have on that 9th of. It did have the little attempt and try to reclaim, but just ended up getting stuff with volume back under VWAP for any dip and rep attempt or continuation. And then huge stuff here for this 3-2 push. That was a fun watch on the tape and time and sales. So I could grade myself a little B for the idea. I could even give myself an even greater idea or even better grade for the kind of warrior trading Ross style trade for the parabolic move on the upside. That is an A+ move. That's huge profit opportunity. But gosh, yeah, for what I was looking for, had to trade this thing kind of being the first time in the fire on this one. It was a good learning experience and gave myself a little bit of a C grade for execution of, hey, we were there, we were a part of it, much more to learn from. And that's just the hard part too of it, of trying to be perfect and saying you're nailing this trade of how many of these will end up going hugely past you once you think you've traded at the exact top of this move, and then how many of these end up like just producing absolutely nothing and just tanking hard against you when you think you can get just a few more cents in this one or just missing your limit order by a few cents. It's just always a give and take on these ones, but good experience on IINN today. And the last one I want to mention, SBEV. Another similar one I mentioned in the introduction, but watching SRRA as well. This one's a 20 million floater. Both of SRA and SBEV just not really any volume coming into pre-market today. Just looking for a squeeze, looking for how well they're holding on a multi-day perspective. Former runner as well, squeezing on that 4th day move after a very nice voluminous first screen day. See if there was any more left in the tank. And out of the gate from the bell, nothing. Dumping hard, finding a base around 3.9-ish. Reclaimed a view up pretty decently, and then, of course, I pick it up and see it as it's already perking with volume just past 415 here, 417. Going, okay, it's, I would have liked to have been in this one a little bit earlier before this volume came in, but I still think there's plenty left to the potential move here. Like a minimum, I'm thinking 4.7, like $5 as the potential target area of profit to be perking above to new high or new breakout level for how well it's been holding and the low floaterness of it. But gosh, yeah, just kind of getting jostled around of thinking this was going to dump here, break that 416 level area, but it didn't. It just completely reversed after I exited that first 20 share trade. I think, I was 20 shares both ways, both these little entries and exits. And just getting jostled around of, okay, it's holding nicely. It could break 425, the upside here, get in at 422, whatever I got in. Tries to break through 425, but then just huge ask. Seller wall comes in to protect that and just dumps off of there. And then I get a crappy fill, 417-ish, 416-ish, yeah, whatever I got for that. Just ended up dumping there, but held a range around VWAP, just clinging to it, and eventually comes in the afternoon session with another perk 2435. And yeah, I'm eyeing it here. I was eyeing it for, again, another break of 4.3, but just did not have it in the bag for how many times it was tapping there. Had it start to test that harder, I would have thought we've seen some more action in the after hours, and then it would have definitely been a overnight hold for me going into tomorrow to see if we had some more squeezy craziness on that bad boy. But yeah, grade for this one, D. I mean, there was just a little opportunity, but again, the time frame and for what I was trying to trade it as, a little bit chasey, just a little bit weird. Execution-wise, a D as well. Just not the brightest or most beautiful thing to behold for a chart in itself or executions nonetheless. That is all I really had. Nothing hard for me conviction-wise on the watch list. Gonna get another nap here, but just again review everything that I'm doing today and continue to push myself to experiment more, play on the option side, play maybe some future on the future side as well. Use this time of the market sentiment currently to expand my horizons and perspective and not try to force anything that doesn't have to be forced, I think is going to be the key for me. But showing up every single day, putting in the work, and making it happen one step at a time. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.